Hello friends, really banking on the fact that diet soda does not cause cancer here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of Dota Alchemy, in which we're going to be talking about how to counter this fat, ugly motherfucker on your screen right now. And I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about Alchemist. This hero is the scourge of my pubs, and probably the scourge of your pubs, and was the absolute scourge of TI9. And speaking of TI9, Team Secret in the lower bracket knocked out Vici Gaming, who were probably the favorites to win this tournament, by baiting the Alchemist and then countering it. So we're going to take a look at how exactly they did that. So first things first, we need to take a look at Team Secret's draft, because I would like to give you a one-size-fits-all counter for Alchemist, where you can just pick one hero, follow the Alchemist around or something like that, and then boom, he's countered. But unfortunately, this hero is the best carry in Dota, possibly the best hero in Dota currently until it gets nerfed. So realistically, you need an entire draft to counter it, and at the very least, a few heroes. So the way Team Secret drafted is they have a Crystal Maiden, they have Puppey playing this. So this hero is excellent for a few reasons. So number one, he has a global arcane aura, which means that he can leave the lane to go mess with the Alchemist and still contribute to the lane without being there. And with that being said, this hero is also excellent at stealing creeps from Alchemist, stealing jungle creeps from Alchemist with the Crystal Nova nuke, and in particular stealing the big creeps with Frostbite, because as the 10-second creep duration, it kills creeps from full HP. So this hero is built around essentially leaving the lane and messing with the Alchemist. And speaking of the lane, Nisha is playing a safe lane Bristleback in this game. So this hero is really good in this draft for a few reasons. So number one, Bristleback is a hero where if he's given a little bit of space, he can take the lane solo. He is totally fine being left alone. In fact, he's such a strong laner because of Bristleback. He's probably, or I should say Bristleback plus Cool Spray, he's probably going to be able to lane against anything in this game, or anything in Dota, to be honest. This hero is a ridiculous laner. And then with that being said, he benefits a lot from the CM aura because he can spam out the quills. And he's a hero that is an early game carry. One of the big mistakes I see people do in pubs is they will pick something like a Juggernaut and they will farm. You cannot have a hero that's going to try to out-farm an Alchemist. It does not work that way. On the mid lane, they have Tiny, which in this particular game, mid one maxes Tree Throw, which allows him to take towers very quickly. So they have two heroes in the Bristle and the Tiny that are able to siege towers, which is important for closing in the Alchemist's map. It's also a very active hero and not a late game hero that wants to farm. He wants to fight. And then on the top lane, we have Zai in the off lane playing Omni Knight. This is a hero that dumps on Alchemist in lane because Alchemist is a melee hero and Omni's a strong laner. It's a sustain hero, so that means that Team Secret doesn't have to go back to base. They can keep pushing because honestly, if you go back to base for just 30 seconds, takes 30 seconds, that's enough time for Alchemist to come online. You cannot let up on this hero. You have to push, 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 and that's what Omni allows you to do. And then the Windranger. I'm a little unsure of this hero. I feel like they just wanted to pick a Windranger to kind of throw off the Vici draft, and it's also a hero that is very capable of chasing the Alchemist around the jungle. She's just very difficult to catch because of the Wind Run, and she can still creeps with Power Shot. But I feel like this is the one hero that didn't necessarily have to fit into the draft. It's something Yapsor wanted to play, and it's something that was just generally good for making Vici not really know what Team Secret was up to in the draft. So for about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, nothing in this game is very eventful, at least regarding the Alchemist. And I think there's a really important reason for that from Team Secret. Throughout this entire game, it seems like their entire focus is to pinpoint where the Alchemist is and make sure that he's not farming well. And if he's not farming exceptionally well, then they're okay with how the game is going. They always seem to try to keep track of this. So they have seen the Alchemist in the top lane because he's just been sitting and laning against Zai, who's playing Omni Knight, which should do very well against an Alchemist in lane. So they haven't had to do anything up until this point. It's typical 2-1-2, and everybody's playing their lanes normally. At about 4 minutes, 40 seconds, this is where things get a little interesting. So mid one exits the mid lane, even though he was farming perfectly well in the mid lane. Doesn't even finish this full camp. And without a bottle, he heads towards the bot rune because there's an Alchemist. So bounty runes matter a lot. That is one important note. If you're a mid laner against an Alchemist, you can test bounty runes or you're going to lose the game. At around this point, this is when Puppey dies. And Puppey doesn't go back to the bot lane, which a lot of supports would. This is where the Bristle plus Crystal Maiden combo comes into play. Bristle doesn't care if he's left alone. Crystal Maiden wants to be jungling and stealing jungle camps from the Alchemist. So he TP's top with 2 wards. He places 1 ward in this area here, scouting to see if Alk dips over here and takes any of these camps. We'll also scout if the Alk runs from the lane into the jungle. Also scouts where the supports are if they're going to defend the jungle. And then I think there's a little period here where they're not entirely sure where the Alchemist is, and Puppey wants to send out a smoke. So he farms the smoke, sends it out on the courier, gets a 2nd ward, and he smokes himself, not mid one, enters into the Alk's jungle, places a ward here, scouting this camp and this camp, and then walks over to the entrance to the jungle and scouts a ward here. So look at this ward coverage. There's a ward scouting this low ground here, which is scouting these 3 Vici heroes. There's a ward scouting the entrance to the jungle, and then there's a ward scouting this camp area over here. And this is where the Crystal Maiden is incredibly effective. So he sits here, and he steals a bunch of creeps. He sees that the courier is coming, so he dips down as to not get scouted by the courier, because he wants to steal as many creeps as he can while he's here. So he pings that this camp is getting stacked because he saw the Grimstroke stacking it, and YapzOr heads over to mess with the Alchemist as well. So for as long as they're clicking him here, they know that he's not farming. They're delaying the game, and that is what you need to do versus the Alchemist. So Alk runs towards the mid lane because he is not feeling safe in his jungle. As this is happening, Puppey is stealing creeps from this camp. YapzOr is trying to steal as much as he can from this camp and just mess with the Alchemist so that he's not completely free farming this, even using spells, knowing that they're not going to kill him. Mid one heads up to contest this as well, and they're just playing to the Alk's farm. So this forces Alk to the mid lane, and now they know where he is, or he is pushed out of the mid lane, or he has to go and farm some of the stacks, and now you know that the Alchemist is not farming that well. So next, at about 7 to 9 minutes, this was happening during the last clip as well. We just didn't see it because we were watching the perspective of the people in the jungle. But as Team Secret is just messing with Alchemist in the jungle, and all of Vici Gaming is trying to defend him, they have 2 heroes, which are the Bristleback and the Tiny, which are pushing towers. So slowly but surely, Team Secret is closing the map in on Vici, while Zai is feeding his life away in the jungle to mess with the Alchemist. And this is really important in my opinion. And they even smoke towards the bot lane to try to get this tower. And they have the maxed out tree grab on mid one, so this is pretty easy to do. So this is kind of how the entire game goes, is you have a few people messing with the Alchemist in the jungle, and then you have mid one and Nisha on Bristleback running around and taking towers. It's very important that as the Alchemist is being stopped in his path while farming, that you are also closing in the map, which means you can't play 3 lanes. Look how many people are in the mid lane. Throughout this entire game, it has been all of Team Secret playing somewhere, and then Nisha playing elsewhere, and it's usually in adjacent lane, because realistically, against an Alchemist, you have to play fast, and if you're playing fast in Dota, you cannot play in 3 lanes. That's what you do when you want to play slow. You don't get objectives if you're playing 3 lanes. You have to play 2 lanes with your cores, even though it doesn't feel good. But do you want to go late game against an Alchemist? You really don't. So basically, between about 10 to 15 minutes, what Team Secret does is they run between all of the objectives that they haven't yet taken. So they start up here. They made their way farming through the jungle to the mid tower and pushed it in. The way they put their heroes on the map was that they had 3 cores together at all times and then a support pushing out in adjacent lane, because you don't want to not push 2 lanes, because then you're going to get split pushed and Vici's going to delay the game. But you want your 3 cores to be together. So they took this tower, moved towards the mid tower, took this tower, moved towards the bot tower, took this tier 2, and now at 16 minutes, they're high grounding. Do they have an Aegis? No. Do they have cheese? No. They have absolutely no reason to think that they can high ground here, other than the fact that they have this catapult. Nisha is really strong with these items, and they have a really good early game sustaining lineup with cooldowns available against an Alchemist. If they don't end here, they probably will lose the game. And this is what you have to do versus an Alch. So they siege safely with Nisha hitting. In fact, they hit with everybody. The Tiny, of course, hits with the tree. Zai kind of sits in the back line, making sure that he's not getting caught out, because if they lose this fight, it is not looking good versus this Alchemist. And the way that they take the fight is they just put Nisha on the front line, and they have all of this ridiculous sustain coming from Zai, and then they have the mana regen coming from the Crystal Maiden. This forces Vici to try to take a fight, which allows Secret to pressure them into their base where they're not farming at all. And even if you have an Alchemist, it doesn't matter if he's not hitting creeps. he's not going to be farming, obviously. He's not getting any gold. So even if Team Secret don't necessarily get this racks, which they do, because they're very strong, this is still going to be really good for them because the Alchemist is stuck in his base. You have to play aggressively versus an Alchemist, otherwise he's going to be hitting creeps. If he's hitting creeps, he's out farming you. And Team Secret essentially pressure this advantage. They go back, they buy all of their items, and then they just do it again until they win the game. And this is absolutely how you have to win against Al. 17-minute racks, or you lose the game. That is it, period. If you pick a hero that's not a good safe laner that can solo, you're not going to win against Alk. If you pick a support that can't mess with him in the jungle, you're not going to win against Alk. If you don't smoke into the jungle and mess with him before Vici Gaming, before your opponents who have Alk, who basically could be Vici Gaming if they have an Alchemist because the hero is so strong. If you don't go before they're set up to defend the Alk, you're going to lose the game. This is what you have to do to beat this hero. Otherwise, you're going to lose. Alchemist is a ridiculous hero. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe because apparently only 40% of you are subscribed. So if you want to support your boys, hit that subscribe button. If you want to support your boys a little bit more and also get some nice replay reviews and coaching sessions, then patreon.com/DotaAlchemy. Love you all, appreciate you, and I hope to see you in another video.